Absent. Shakil Ali.
Here.
Eileen Policarpio.
Here.
And Anthony Sujisaka.
Here. Excellent. Thank you, Ms. Covere. All right, now we move to Pledge of Allegiance. Ms. Scott, may I ask you to lead us in the pledge, please?
Ready, begin.
Thank you very much, Ms. Scott. All right, now we move to the approval of the agenda. The administration recommends the approval of the agenda. If there are any items that need to be removed or amended, otherwise I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve?
Second.
I have a motion from trustee Jordan and second by trustee Ali. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes unanimously. All right, and now we move on to our first special presentation in 5A, fiscal year 26-27 budget development presentation. Ms. Josephine Peterson, Assistant Superintendent of Business Services, will present the fiscal year 2026-27 proposed budget and multi-year financial projection for the district. That's all.
Good evening. Thank you. My name is Josie Peterson, Assistant Superintendent of Business Services, and I'm presenting our proposed budget for the upcoming school year. Make sure this works. Here is an overview of our presentation tonight. Our full budget report is attached to our agenda. So the budget cycle timeline. This is the beginning of our budget cycle timeline for the upcoming school year. We are basing our budget on the governor's May revision. His budget is not yet final. It is currently being reviewed by the legislature, the Assembly, and the Senate, who must reconcile the differences and pass a budget by June 15th. We will incorporate the final state budget in our first interim report in December. That's the next circle. We bring an update to the board in March 2027, and our year-end actuals to the board in September. Our auditors present the audit report in January 2028. State budget update, the May revision. While the governor has presented a balanced budget for 2 years, it is based on higher than normal revenues driven by the stock market and high income earners. The state's out years reflect ongoing structural deficits. The budget does include repayment to schools for the 24-25 school year, the $1.9 billion, but the governor continues to underfund education by $3.9 billion for the 25-26 school year. So that's what's called the settle-ups. Based on the minimum guarantee, year by year, he has been shorting school districts. So multi-year planning factors, this is a summary of the planning factors we use in multi-year. We do base it on the school services dartboard. The COLA for 26-27 and 27-28 are slightly higher than the governor's January proposal, and 28-29 is slightly lower. For this budget, the COLA includes an additional investment of 1.44%, with the requirement to use the funds for SB 65, the mandated 14-week pregnancy leave. Our enrollment continues to decline. Fortunately, we're able to use our ADA for a 3-year average, the past 3-year average, or the prior year ADA for this current year's numbers. So when you look at the ADA, in the 3rd year is when you'll see a decline, and I'll show that to you in the financials.
Can I just, for the public, ADA stands for Average Daily Attendance.
Yes, thank you. Okay. So in addition to employee salaries, we do contribute to employee pension plans. STRS is for teachers, and that's 19.1% of an employee's salary, and PERS is for other employees, and that's 26.4% of the employee's salary. The lottery projections are pretty stable from year to year, and those funds are used to help us pay for our instructional programs. So additional budget information in the May revision. Good news, we're expecting a large increase in special education funding. It's approximately $900,000 for Jefferson. The funds do flow through the county office SELPA program, and so we do not yet have our allocations. When the final allocations are given to us, we will update them in our first interim. The governor continues to propose additional one-time funding So there's the Learning Recovery Emergency Block Grant and Student Support and Professional Development Grant. Together, these funds could be up to $5 million for our school district. The challenges are aligning ongoing funding with and being prepared with ongoing expenditures and being prepared for future budget shortfalls. The other funding that continues is the full TK implementation, expanded learning opportunities, and our food service program continues to be self-sufficient. So just a reminder that, we're under what's called the Local Control Funding Formula, LCFF, versus community-funded or basic aid. We're among 5 school districts in San Mateo County that are funded this way. There is a big push to increase the base funding for LCFF. It's called Increase the Base, Raise the Base, but unfortunately, there's nothing included in this budget proposal for that. So, quick snapshot of our 26-27 projected revenues. 74% is based on ADA, average daily attendance. The other state revenues are higher now because of the one-time funds. Federal funding is a very small portion of our budget, and the other local revenue, about half of that is our parcel tax, 1.6 million. We're very fortunate to have that community support for our district. Here's a snapshot of our projected expenditures. 76% of our budget is employee costs. And you can see in the pie, it does break it down between teachers, other employees, and employee benefits. The next slide will be a more detailed summary of our budget. So here is a summary of, and like I said, the whole budget packet is attached. I just tried to summarize it for the presentation. But this is a summary of the unrestricted and the restricted funds in our general fund. Our budget is aligned with the goals and actions in our LCAP, which will also be presented tonight. The budget is based on the current information and will be revised as new information becomes available. The work of the Superintendent Budget Advisory Committee was presented to the board in May, and there were recommendations for reducing expenditures. I want to point out that the outdoor education subsidies and maintaining school funding is included in this budget. There were no reductions to those 2 areas. The state continues to allocate one-time funds, which makes it very difficult to reduce ongoing structural deficits. Our unrestricted deficit is almost $6 million. We are using reserve funds to offset this in order to meet our 3% reserve in the general fund. This year, we're transferring $1.75 million from Fund 17, an additional 1.1 from our retiree benefit fund. And I'll go into that a little bit more. The next slide takes the total of our general fund and brings it to a multi-year summary, because we are required by the state to demonstrate that we can meet our financial commitments for 3 years. So our ongoing LCFF revenues are steady for the first 2 years because the state allows us to use the prior year attendance and 3-year average of attendance. When you look at the chart, the 3rd year, you can see the drop. It's kind of in the light orange color. You can see the drop in our main funding source. 73% of our budget starts to decline. Other state revenues, you'll also see a decline in the 2nd year, and that's due to the one-time funds. And that's in the darker orange color. You can see the first column, and then you can see a decline in the coming years. We do continue deficit spending. Our ongoing revenues do not keep pace with our ongoing expenditures. The blue near the bottom of the chart shows our deficit is going up to almost $7 million in year 2 and close to $9 million in year 3. This is without large budget reductions or increases in the LCFF funding model. The orange at the bottom shows reserve transfers to cover deficits and meet our 3% reserve. We are very fortunate to have the reserves. It provides us time to work on balancing our structural deficits. And then go on. So other funds, it's a summary of all the funds the district has. One thing to point out is the bond funds. We will no longer have bond funds in Fund 20 for major renovations, and the state does not provide funding for deferred maintenance, Fund 14. We do have some one-time funds in Fund 40 from a sale of site, and that'll enable us to maintain facilities for the short term. Next steps. We will adopt our budget on June 24th. Once the state's final budget is available, we will make revisions. If material, we'll bring some updates to you in August. The final 25-26 unaudited actuals, or estimated actuals, will be completed in September, and we'll bring a revised budget to the board in December, our first interim budget report. Thank you. I'm happy to answer any questions or hear comments from the board.
Thank you very much, Assistant Superintendent Peterson. All right, we will start from comments and questions from the board, and I'll start on my left. All right, no comments or questions? None? I have one just for a reminder. Could you remind our public what is the required amount that's supposed to be kept in reserves?
So it's 3% of your total expenditures. So for us, it's just under $3 million.
Thank you. That's all the comments and questions I had. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, with that, we move on to item 5B, Local Control Accountability Plan, LCAP update. Assistant Superintendent Pamela Scott of Assistant Superintendent of Ed Services will provide an update on the 2024-2027 three-year LCAP goals and actions. This floor is yours.
Good evening. So thank you. Tonight I will provide an overview of the 26-27 Local Control and Accountability Plan, or LCAP. The LCAP serves as the district's strategic plan for improving student outcomes and outlines the goals, actions, services, and investments that support our students. Before discussing stakeholder feedback, I want to briefly ground us in the three goals that continue to guide our work. Goal 1, Conditions of Learning, focuses on providing all students with strong, engaging classroom instruction, equipping teachers with the training and support to strengthen their practice, and ensuring students receive timely academic assistance when challenges arise. Goal 2, Student Achievement, focuses on improving outcomes in literacy and mathematics, supporting English learners, and ensuring effective implementation of our adopted curriculum. Goal 3, School Climate and Family Engagement, focuses on student belonging, attendance, student voice, and strong partnerships with families. These goals remain unchanged and continue to serve as the foundation of our work. What changes from year to year are the actions, services, and investments we make to achieve them. Throughout this year, we engaged students, families, staff, administrators, advisory committees, school site councils, and bargaining units through surveys, meetings, and stakeholder engagement opportunities. In addition to stakeholder feedback, we reviewed local and state data, including student achievement, attendance, school climate, and English learner outcomes. Together, these perspectives and data sources helped us evaluate progress, identify areas for improvement, and inform the priorities, actions, and services included in the 26-27 LCAP. While each group brought unique perspectives, several common themes emerged. Families emphasized communication, parent education, and support for student well-being. Students emphasized belonging, trusted adults, and opportunities for student voice. Staff emphasized professional learning, collaboration, and instructional consistency, and support for English learners. Across all stakeholder groups, there was strong alignment around the importance of high-quality instruction, supportive relationships, and equitable outcomes for students. Stakeholder feedback and district data largely validated our current direction while also identifying opportunities to strengthen implementation. 2 new actions were added to the LCAP. Action 1.11 provides targeted support for middle school mathematics through coaching, collaborative planning, and instructional leadership support. Action 2.8, curriculum implementation and instructional leader support for grades 6 through 8, strengthens implementation of our middle school mathematics and English language arts curriculum through professional learning and instructional leadership. So as we look ahead to 26-27, students can expect engaging and inclusive learning experiences. Families can expect stronger communication and partnership opportunities, and staff can expect continued professional learning and collaboration. The overall message from our stakeholders was clear: stay focused on the work, strengthen implementation, and ensure consistency across schools. The feedback we received reaffirmed that we are focused on the right priorities. Our challenge moving forward is not identifying new initiatives, but ensuring consistent, high-quality implementation across every school, every classroom, and every student. The next steps, today is our public hearing. So this was our community presentation, and we welcome feedback. On the 24th, we will ask the board to adopt our LCAP, and we will submit it to the San Mateo County Office of Ed on June 30th. I'm open to any questions.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Assistant Superintendent Scott. All right, if there are any comments or questions, this time I'll start on my right. There are none.
Just to clarify, when is the next time that we update the LCAP?
Next year.
Do you know what month?
So it's a 3-year plan. Next year will be the 3rd year of this current plan, and while we're finishing out this one, we're developing the new one for the next 3 years.
Okay. One more question. Do you or have you discussed any plans at all to move anything that's been funded by one-time funds over into the LCAP so that we can support?
Can you share more about what you're thinking, or more details?
Well, the Youth Cinema Project.
Oh, yes, that's continuing, correct?
Yes, so that actually is coming out of the parcel tax, so that's not necessarily included in the local control accountability plan, because that is enrichment.
Yeah,
in
so
front of the parcel tax.
that was my question.
Yeah, so this is, the local control accountability plan is not all encompassing of all the operations of the district. That is, it's only the goals that are set by the district, and which are the 3 goals that are in the LCAP. It doesn't include like the maintenance and operations and things to operate the district. This is just focused on those multi-tier systems of support, our academic achievement and student and behavioral support. But some of the one-time funds are included in the local control accountability plan. For instance, the coaching and support with professional development. Those are one-time, they'll be for a year, and so we can use the one-time funds for that.
And also I want to add that every action in the LCAP, we have to measure the effectiveness of against the goal. So we're trying to be very specific about which actions we include in there so that we're able to accurately measure their progress. If they're ineffective, we have to remove them.
Okay, so I think you still haven't answered my question, but I think you understand it a little bit more. So what I'm asking is, have you talked about anything at all besides, including or besides Youth Cinema Project, which currently is being funded by either a parcel tax or, like you said, some type of one-time funds that you would like to bring into maybe put in, discussing it as being put into the LCAP so that we could continue to fund it?
So there are many items that we focus on within our district that aren't necessarily included in the LCAP, but that doesn't mean that they're not funded and supported. It just means that we're really being specific about the actions we're including because we need to measure their progress towards the goal. So if we're looking at student outcomes, when Youth Cinema Project is in there, we have to measure the effectiveness against that goal.
So the answer is no?
So the answer is it's not currently in the LCAP, but that does not mean that it's not funded.
Okay, that's not what I'm asking, but you probably want to
Okay.
chime in, right?
So now I have a question, sorry. So I guess what I'm hearing is that whatever we have in the LCAP needs to be measured. I'm also hearing that we are going to probably renew and or create a new 3-year plan next year. I think, based on what I'm hearing, the question is how, as a board, can we help talk through what should be a part of the goals going into next year? And for something like Youth Cinema Project, is there a reason why we can't get an impact report or some sort of measurement? To be honest, and before you answer the question, to be honest, I'm actually a little concerned that we don't have everything that we're doing should be measurable. If we're just doing it to do it, then there is no way to understand success or track trends to see if things are getting better and better. And so I guess my question in relation to what Trustee Ali said is, how can we look at our programs and start to get impact reports or success measures so that we're not just funding things one time when some of these things can possibly be included in the LCAP? Does that make sense?
It does. So to measure the effectiveness of something like Youth Cinema Project, we would need to create that measurement. And then we want to align it to one of the 3 goals. So if we're looking for student outcomes or student achievement, academic achievement, we could look at, cross-reference how those students are doing on our academic iReady assessments or CASP who were participating in Youth Cinema Project. That would be one way. Or developing a whole separate metric to figure out what are we measuring, though? Are we measuring the language arts pieces of it? Right, we have to figure out what is the purpose of the program and what are the metrics that we want to look at.
Can I have one last comment? I would recommend that every single program that we have, we are looking at why we're doing it and the impact that we're making. And if there are any programs we're not doing that with, then I think that we need to be thinking through, is that a program that we should be having? There should be nothing that our students are doing that doesn't push them forward to being their best selves as they move into the next stage of their life.
And when you're saying impact, are you looking at academic outcomes?
100% academic
Okay.
outcomes, social well-being outcomes. Obviously, we do a lot of things in after-school program that may not necessarily be focused on academic outcomes, but it helps with their social well-being, and that is just as important for a successful, person as they grow in their life. So,
Right.
if we are not measuring that across the board for everything that we're doing, then I would question why we are doing it.
Yeah, the question is, why aren't we measuring it? Or
No.
your recommendation is that we ensure that we have a measurement system for everything like our after-school programs, the before school, the elective classes, PE, right? Everything that we're doing.
100%. I mean, if we are paying for it and if our
Yeah.
students are engaging with it, I would say, and I can't speak for the entire board, I would say it would be to our benefit that we're able to measure and say, this is something that we should continue doing because we
have
see
data.
we see the effects and the impact that it's making on our students beyond just this cohort that we're in. Does that make sense at all?
Yep, no, I agree.
And then I guess I have well, first of all, I want to thank you, Trustee Jordan, because again, I will say, Trustee Ali, I was not understanding your question as well, but now that, I think you both collaborate, I now understand what's being asked. So I guess, if we made it a goal, would that mean that we would no longer have to fund out of parcel tax? It would be now funded out of LCFF, and then do we have the funds for that, or am I not understanding that correctly?
Many of the actions have different funding sources in the LCAP.
Oh, okay, got it, thank you. And
Yeah,
then-
that's why I was asking. When you said specifically, I got specific, but I was really asking in general. So I appreciate Trustee Jordan, what she was saying, because just to be honest, I started weighing in my mind the effectiveness of other programs. When we started comparing the cost of YCP, Youth Cinema Project, we were comparing it against other things that were funded by the same parcel tax. But I compared it against everything we're funding, and I didn't think in my mind that there were things that were more valuable that we were funding, even though it was presented a certain way at our last board meeting. So without going further into details, I'm just interested in general how we make a decision as a collective to move something from one-time funding or alternative funding to putting it into the LCAP.
No, and I think at least 3 of us, are in agreement, and I don't want to speak for you, Trustee Policarpio, and you'll get a chance to speak as well. I think we're just trying to be more intentful about where our money is going, and I think that's really what this conversation is about. So I really appreciate our board trustees for making that intentional point, and thank you for asking the questions and continuing to get going. No, I think you were on the same point, and we need to get to where we were, so thank you. But Trustee Policarpio, we want to open the floor if you have any comments or questions, otherwise that's up to you.
I have questions that are going to feel very juvenile after this discussion, but what is HQIM?
High quality instructional materials. So that's what we adopt, our adopted curriculum.
I'm going on I'm doing all acronyms here because
That's
they weren't
okay.
on my sheet, so I'm
That's good
like,
for our public, so that's good.
what is DLAC? DELAC?
District English Advisory
Language
Council.
Advisory, yeah.
English Language Advisory Council.
Got it, okay.
Thank you.
And SELPA?
Special Education.
Okay. Thank you. I was like, a lot of them were in the first, like the
Slide.
kind of the grounding slides of what the goals are and, you know, who we've talked to and who are involved. And I'm like, I have no idea what that means for any of these people. So thank you. That makes a lot of sense. I'll make one. That's all.
Yeah, go ahead.
Based on her question, now I have another question. Those are not included in our key terms.
Yep.
So I would maybe recommend we add them to our key terms and/or we don't use them as acronyms and we always word
We
it
have
out.
so many
I know.
acronyms, and we really try our best to make sure that they're covered. So I thank you for pointing that out. We'll make sure all of our slides or our sheet has them. Because I know these, you know, a lot of the public does not understand. So we apologize for not having that spelled out for you.
And I
think-
only knew PIAC because I joined one, so I knew that was like parents. So that's the only reason. Otherwise, I would have asked about that one too. So if there's, I mean,
Well, also,
basically.
I mean, Trustee Ali and I have been in education for years, and we still have questions on certain acronyms too. So that's not a, and also your question, we're not juvenile, so thank you for asking it. But also, one of the things, I mean, like, it's kind of like in written presentations or in written documents. You use the full thing once, then you go to the acronym. That could be something we would like to encourage. But again, I think it's good if there's something in there. And like sometimes, I mean, I know Trustee Jordan does it a lot, is when there is an acronym, sometimes we'll just say, for our public, what does that mean? And I think that's totally appropriate to ask. So thank you for asking that question or those questions. All right, are there any more comments or questions from the board? I have none. All right, thank you, Assistant Superintendent Scott. All right, we go to item 6A, public hearing on 2024-2027 Local Control Accountability Plan. The governing board of the Jefferson Elementary School District will hear public comments on the Local Control Accountability Plan, LCAP. The LCAP is an accountability plan that requires districts to disclose how LCFF local control funding formula funds are spent to provide high-quality education programs. We open the public comment at 7:28. Ms. Covray, are there any public comments?
There are none.
Seeing that there are none, we close our public comment at 7:28 p.m. All right, now we move on to item 6B, public hearing for fiscal year 2026-27 proposed budget. The governing board of the Jefferson Elementary School District will hear public comments on the fiscal year 2026-27 proposed district budget. We open the public comment at 7:28. Ms. Covray, are there any public comments?
There are none.
Thank you. We close our public comment at 7:28. Now we go on to item 6C, public hearing on reserves in excess of minimum requirements. The governing board of Jefferson Elementary School District will hear public comment on the district reserves in excess of minimum requirements. We're going to open our public comment at 7:29 p.m. Ms. Covray, are there any public comments on this item?
There are none.
Thank you very much. We now close public comment for item 6C at 7:29 p.m. All right, we go to communications A, board member acknowledgements and commendations. And this time, I think I started on my right last time, so I'll start on my left. Yeah, left, right, left, yes.
I think this is the place where I could do this. I just confirmed with Trustee Ali, so thank you. Happy summer to everybody. I
Can't
went.
do that till later. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh,
I'm kidding.
later?
I'm kidding.
Oh.
No, I'm kidding.
There's two places to talk, and I don't know where I'm supposed to talk. I went to graduations, the 8th grade graduations on Friday. Well, first, happy summer to everybody. My kids also graduated, TK and Kinder, adorable. But that was not as fun as going to the middle school graduations for Ben and Fernando. And I was very emotional for whatever reason, but I was just really proud to see. I always think middle school scares me because of just how hard it can be and how much ground the kids have to go through and going from 6th grade to 8th grade and just everything that goes on with middle school. And but I was so impressed with all of the speakers and how well spoken they were and how excited they were and how good they were and full of life and how the kids were just clapping and supporting and loving on each other. And it was just such a nice, both of them that at least I went to were just such nice graduation. So I don't know who my kudos go to, the parents, the families, the staff, the district, the teachers, the students, everybody that just turned these, little 6th graders into these big 8th graders that are now going to be little 9th graders. But all of that to say, it was very emotional. I loved it, and I want to go to every graduation. Congratulations, graduating
Definitely
class.
go to every graduation. You can. We're not going to stop you. We're not gonna...
Thank you. I like to commend so I did attend, I'll talk about it a little bit later. I did attend the film premieres at the Chinese Theater in Hollywood. There was a school, one of our schools got Best Actor, I believe, for elementary. And two films got nominated for Best Film for elementary. So I'd like to commend everyone who was involved in that. And I also attended the Fernando graduation, and I'd like to commend the whole Fernando Rivera community. We had a very lively ceremony and celebration there, and especially since there have been some crazy things happening at other graduations around the Bay Area, it felt great to see that everything went perfectly fine with no glitches. So, thank you.
Happy summer, happy Pride. I want to say I'm so happy to see the Pride flag being flown at all of our schools, the inclusivity, us basically welcoming anyone regardless of their background, I think is super important to me, and I'm sure to the children that see that going into school every day. So I just want to commend our district for consistently focusing on equity for all, because I think it's super important, especially for children that feel maybe that they don't belong. And so us showcasing that when they walk up to school each day, I think is maybe small but huge. I also want to say congratulations to everyone that graduated TK, kindergarten, 5th grade, and 8th grade. So I know there was a lot of celebrations over the last week, and it was just so beautiful to see. My daughter actually got promoted from 5th grade, and so everybody was crying, the kids were crying, the parents are crying. It was beautiful. So I'm sure it was probably very similar at the 8th grade graduations. I also want to make sure that for the parents listening, know that there were report cards that were given, I believe, in the last day of school for those that were continuing on to the next grade within their same school. And my understanding is that some of the comments on those talk through what a child could be working on during the summer. And so I know IXL is one that the students will still have access to and can log into. And so I would actually say, Superintendent McCulloch, if you could speak a little bit about IXL over the summer, that may be helpful. I say that because I believe my daughter was recommended to do certain things in hers, and I plan to do that, especially because we know that over the summer there is learning loss. So I want to encourage parents out there to keep their kids either reading, going to library events. Actually, the libraries actually do summer learning challenges, which is free, and then after you go through a few hours of reading, you basically get a free book or a free tote, and so it's free, might as well, but also any kind of extracurricular things that can keep their learning loss low would be highly recommended.
I echo my fellow board trustee sentiments, especially the pride flag. I mean, obviously, but again, like I echo your trustee Jordan's sentiments. I'm not going to speak too much on that since she already did. What I wanted to also acknowledge was, so I didn't get to go to the YCP Film Festival in Los Angeles this year. I'm glad to know that trustee went. I know I don't think I was aware that you were going to go. I think you said you were interested, but I don't think I ever heard. But I'm glad that somebody went and represented our board there, so thank you. One of my quick questions is, did you get to meet J-Lo?
Yeah, I was there the night after, they awarded her, but yeah, no, I didn't. But James Edward almost, though, he always wants to take selfies with everybody.
Yeah, that's true. He's a very friendly person. But I got to go last year, so but I did get to go to the one at Westmore, and actually brought my little sister, and we watched all the film. They were hilarious. It was and we sat there for the full hour 45 and just were laughing almost the time, because even the ones that worked hard, like they had those funny moments, but it was so nice to see how much of our community really showed up for it. We had a lot of, the parents of the students were there. They had this entire section where the students, I think, most of them were the actors in it. They were sitting together in these 2 rows in the back, were cheering each other on. It was really cute. but I think just the work that they put into it is so valuable in the arts. And again, like what we've already said about YCP is that it is this, it's not CTE because it's not in school, but it is a CTES. Like they're getting those life skills. So I just wanted to highlight that, and just that was a really good event. And then I also wanted to thank both of our trustees over here who attended the graduations in my stead because I could not attend. I was out of town. So I really want to thank you for attending those graduations and keeping board presence at our school's big events. Thank you. All right. With that, we move on to item 7B, superintendent comments. Superintendent
And
Mitchell.
sure, and you just mentioned another acronym, CTE, Career Technical Education. So even board members do it.
Darn, thank you.
I will piggyback on the Youth Cinema Project film premiere I also attended at Westmore, and the films, there were, I believe it was 16 films, and the themes were all about social emotional learning, and just, it was really, a lot of pride. I mean, the students make these up themselves. They write them themselves, and they always have a great message. And so it was just really, when I think, gosh, a 10-year-old, a 9-year-old thought of this idea and put it into this film, it is amazing what they can produce, and they act. And one of our students won Best Actor overall from all the schools that are in California for the Youth Cinema Project. So that was really exciting to have that honored in our students. So, there is a lot of something unique about Youth Cinema Project, and we've been doing it for quite some time. I also attended all the promotion ceremonies, graduations for 8th grade, and as Trustee Policarpio said, just a sense of pride. The student speakers were fantastic. I actually was like, oh, I wish I had said that, And so they did such a great job, and I feel so proud of our district, our students, and the pride in, you could see the pride in the families and the staff. All the staff is sitting there watching and so excited. So I wish all of our exiting 8th graders best of luck in high school, and all of our rising kinders into first and so on, just have a wonderful summer. Just to remind folks that we do have a couple summer programs happening in our district. We have Camp Jeff at Daniel Webster and John F. Kennedy and TRP, and then our extended school year, our special education program, is also at JFK and TRP. JFK is kindergarten through 3rd grade, and TRP is 4 through 8. And that starts on Monday and goes all the way through July 17th with, of course, the holidays off. June 19th is a holiday, as well as July 3rd for the July 4th holiday. And we also have a couple other programs happening, Latchkey at FDR, and then Woodrow Wilson has Boys and Girls Club as well. And just as you were asking about summer support, the library is a great place to go, and they do a lot of prizes and things, but also all of our online tools like iExcel, iReady, all of those are accessible to our students throughout at any time. So they can log into their account and use those. So if you're at home and your child is looking bored and you want to get them to log in for a few, we want them to be outside and play and experience and fun. We don't want them on devices all day. But if 10 minutes a day or something, just get them on those devices so that they keep up their skills. iReady is a great learning tool. iExcel is a great learning tool. So we have a lot of all the ones that the kids already know how to log into. They're accessible over the summer.
I have a question for Superintendent. Do we have a summer nutrition program that's open to the public this year?
Thank you for the reminder. All of our summer program locations, Daniel Webster, John F. Kennedy, Thomas R. Policita, those, and Woodrow Wilson, those have what's called seamless summer. So anyone under the age of 18 and under can go and get a free lunch through that program. And it is, if you go to our website, it's in the front little banner, you'll see it. It says seamless summer. And so please go check it out. And it's during the whole time that the programs are in session from June 15th to July 17th. So thank you for reminding me about that.
And that's also in your newsletter too, yes?
I believe it is.
And then, I guess this is just a reminder for us. Could we make sure to mention at the June 24th board meeting
Sure,
as well? Thank
sure.
you. And then actually, I had a question about ESY really quick. Just so is that so I know Jen LaRock usually does our summer programs. Is that also in collaboration with our director of special education as well, or is that just still since she's special projects?
This is actually, we're really excited. This is the first year we've had our extended school year on the same campus as our summer program. And so it's a very inclusive program this summer. So we're really excited to have that collaboration. And Ms. Price is here today to share her updates, but that is one thing that was a great collaboration to make sure that that happens so that our students are part of the general population.
No, thank you so much. And so I'll save my questions for that for, of course, your presentation, Ms. Price. All right, so we move on to item, is there any other comments or questions from the board for superintendent updates? All right, we move on to item 7C, persons wishing to address the board. This portion of the agenda is available for individuals to comment on or address the board on any issue that is under the board's jurisdiction and not on the agenda. The maximum time for any speaker is usually 2 minutes. Are there any public comments?
There are none.
There are none. Seeing none, we will move on to item 8. The consent agenda. The administration recommends the approval of the consent agenda. Are there any items that need to be amended, removed? Otherwise, I will entertain a motion.
I move that we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. This is a roll call vote. Ms. Covray, please.
Ms. Jordan?
Aye.
Mr. Ali?
Aye.
Ms. Policarpio?
Aye.
Mr. Sujisaka?
Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Consent agenda is approved. Thank you very much. All right, we move on to item 9A, general functions, resolution number 2606-10B, resolution of the Jefferson Elementary School District calling for an election to be held on November 3rd, 2026 for the election of 4 members of the governing board. 3 board member seats are up for election in November 2026 for a 4-year term ending in 2030. The 4th board seat for election is due to an appointment in September 2025 to fill a sudden vacancy. It was a temporary appointment to ensure Jefferson Elementary School District remained fully represented. By law, appointed members must run in the next general election, so the community can vote on who should finish the term, which concludes in 2028. The administration recommends the adoption of resolution number 2606-10B, a resolution of the Jefferson Elementary School District calling for an election to be held on November 3rd, 2026 for the election of 4 governing board members. All right, that is the end of that one. Superintendent McCool, did you have any comment? Otherwise, sorry, I didn't know if you were going to say anything. All right, if there are any comments or questions, otherwise I will entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. This is a roll call vote. Ms. Covray, if you may.
Ms. Jordan?
Aye.
Mr. Ali?
Aye.
Ms. Policarpio?
Aye.
Mr. Sujisaka?
Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you very much. All right, and we move on to item 9B, contracted services, Total School Solutions. The administration recommends the approval of the contract with Total School Solutions to conduct a schools consolidation study. The agreement includes a fixed fee of $39,800 for phase 1 and $49,600 for phase 2, including expenses. This will be funded by the general fund. Superintendent McCoolick, you had a comment.
Yes, so this is, at my last presentation, I talked about what the Superintendent Budget and Facilities Advisory Committee suggested, and what I recommend too, is that we have a school consolidation closure merge committee starting next year to discuss the prospect of recommending possibly consolidation, closure, or reconfiguration. And so in order to do that and have kind of experts that do this with other districts, I am recommending that we contract with Total School Solutions, who have done this many times. And so you can see the attachment in the contract. There's 2 phases. The first phase would be really looking at the Total School Solutions would look at all of the pieces of data that we have, like our demographic study, our facilities master plan, our school accountability report card, all of those pieces. They would actually work on that if this is approved tonight over the summer. They'd do a lot of that data analysis. And then we would form a committee, a superintendent advisory committee, that they would lead and help walk through the process and share what they have come up with from their analysis of our information. And so then they would have 4 meetings, so that by January 31st, that we would have a recommendation coming to the board, so that we can then have a decision by the board in February. And then if the board decides to close schools or do some sort of reconfiguring, boundary changes, whatever, then that would trigger phase 2. Phase 2 would then have these public meetings, and so then it would, if there was a school closure or an impacted school closure, they would help support us with connecting with the community and going through that process, because they've done this before. And so phase 2 would only be triggered if the board decides to close schools or reconfigure. So this contract is, if that happens, we are ready for that. If that doesn't happen, we would not do phase 2. And tonight, we do have a representative from Total School Solutions here in the audience. So if you have any specific questions about the contract, we can invite him up to speak. But I'll let you talk first, and then we can invite him up if he wants to say a few words.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Superintendent McCulloch. All right. Are there any comments and questions from the board? So I would just like to comment and just say I'm glad that we're being very intentional and we're using data and we are really taking our time with these decisions. That's something I've said before, and I just want to really repeat again. We're not fortunate that we're in the situation that we're in the economy and just the whole world. I think the fortunate place that we as JESD are in is that we are able to take our time. We are not having to rush these decisions. We are able to be intentional about it, and I really appreciate that our district leadership has set us up for success and that we are able to make these decisions rationally and not rush, because there are districts out there that had to do this really quickly and it is not pretty and no one is happy. So, and I mean, no one's going to be happy with this either, but at least we can take our time and be intentional. So I just want to mention that. All right, and with that then I will motion to approve if there are no comments or questions.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you, Total School Solutions. Yeah, thank you for being here. Thank you. All right, and we move on to item 9C, CSBA Annual Education Conference Discussion/Action. Board members will discuss and determine which board members would like to attend the CSBA Annual Education Conference to be held in person in San Diego from Thursday, December 3rd to Saturday, December 5th, 2026. The estimated cost of attending this conference for each person is approximately $24.14, funded through the board conference budget. Board members can also opt to attend a pre-conference. All right, this is a regular thing. Trustee Policarpio, you attended last year, correct?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So we don't need to re-explain too much, but yeah. So we're going to discuss now. If anyone is interested in going, I think it says up above, this year it's in San Diego, so the costs are up there if you're going to read it. So just that's where that cost is coming from for our public and anyone who's interested. So let's get a really quick poll of anyone who is interested in joining this year. Let's actually do, and this is a tentative, do we have to?
May I just add on to this? The reason we're asking now is that registration opens soon. Actually, I think it opened today. It opened yesterday, and so things sell out quickly.
Yes.
And if we do register early, we can get an early bird special. And so if we already know that current board members, I know there's an election, but if we already know that current board members are all interested, then we can reserve it. We can always cancel later, but we really just want to know to budget for it and to reserve spots now, because it's to our advantage and saves the district some money if we do it now. But if you already know you can't go, then that would also be helpful for us to know.
All right, trustees, so I guess do we want to just quickly do a poll of just see who can, or who at this time can go? And then, so I guess raise your hand if you can go at this time. All right, and then we'll ask trustee Rashba.
Well, we could approve tonight that we will up to all five.
Yeah. And then this is actually a question I'm going to ask for you. For CSBA, I know that they're doing a call for possible presenters. And I know that we can be presenters. So I'm wondering if that's something that we want to explore. I have topic I'm thinking about, but I don't know necessarily yet, and I'm gonna probably talk to at least one of my trustees after this about a potential.
Yeah, that's not something we actually would need to approve. You can just do that,
I
connect
think
directly.
the cost is different. Is that true, or is that not
It
true for
might
this one?
be, we might get a cost savings, actually, if you're presenter. I don't think
I-
there would be a difference.
Okay,
But
just wanted to make sure if that's something we had to do here, or if that's something that's external.
I think that's external.
All right, so then, for that then, I guess, so the motion on the table, which no one's motioned yet, is that we are gonna do up to 5 members. So
So move.
we have a motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 All opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Excellent. We move on to 9D. 2026-2027 CSEA Chapter 233 Renewal Contract Proposal Sunshine and schedule a public hearing. A public hearing will be held on June 24th, 2026 to receive public input on the renewal contract proposal of CSEA Chapter 233 for 2026-2027. CSEA is proposing to open negotiations on Article 5, wages, Article 6, health and welfare benefits, and a new article on artificial intelligence. The administration recommends acknowledgement of this receipt, direct sunshining and distribution for public review. The renewal contract proposal of CSEA 233 for 2026-2027 as required by the RADA Act. Are there any comments or questions? Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Oh, wait, excuse me, I had a quick question. If, I think it would be Mr. Valenti. What is this about, a new article on artificial intelligence?
I really have no more information than those words. I do understand it is something, though, that the organization of CSEA, the broader organization, is putting out for all their locals. So I'll have a little more information in the fall, but
All right, thank you, yeah, that
Stay
makes
tuned.
sense. All right,
I have a
thank
question
you.
too. What does it mean by sunshining and proposals?
sunshining is when you open your proposals for the next round of negotiations, when you identify the articles that you'll be negotiating in the next negotiation season. And then you sunset when you're done after you settle. So
I was gonna say, it's like
literally
the opposite of
sunshine,
sunsetting.
sunset.
Yeah.
Got it.
I
What a
know,
nice
it's-
way to say it.
It sounds, because I know that term, at least, I don't know about you, Trustee Ali, but I got it confused the first time I heard it was sunshine committees, which are things on
And there's no
education
acronym
campuses
for
that are
that.
like, happy things. So, yeah, they're a little different.
Thank
But
you.
yes. So, good question. Are there any other questions? Otherwise, I will entertain a motion. Oh, well, actually, there is a motion already on the
So
table
moved, yeah.
by Trustee Georgian.
Second.
We have a second, sorry. And, sorry, we have a motion, we have a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes unanimously. All right, item 9E, 2026-2027 JESD counter proposal to CSEA Chapter 233, renewal contract proposal, sunshine, and schedule a public hearing. A public hearing will be held on June 24th, 2026 to receive public input on JESD's counter proposal to CSEA Chapter 233, renewal contract proposal for 2026-2027. JESD is proposing to open negotiations on Article 5, wages, Article 6, health and welfare benefits, and Article 12, transfers and promotions. The administration recommends acknowledging the receipt of direct sunshining and distribution for public review, the contract counter proposal for JESD to CSEA Chapter 233 for 2026-2027 as required by the RADA Act. Are there any comments or questions? Otherwise, I will entertain a motion. Oh, and sunshining is when we are, no, I'm just kidding. All right, then I move to approve this
Second.
item. There's a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes unanimously. All right, we move on to item 10A, Special Education Program Updates. Ms. Cindy Price, Director of Special Education, will provide an overview of district special education services. The floor is yours, Ms. Price.
Good evening. I'm Cindy Price, Director of Special Education here at Jefferson Elementary School District. And the last time I stood here was a year ago tomorrow when I was appointed as Director of Special Education with Jefferson Elementary School District. And I'm very excited to stand here a year later tonight to share the progress our Special Education Department has made in supporting students, families, and staff across the district this school year. This year, our focus has been on strengthening inclusive practices, improving student outcomes, increasing staff capacity, and ensuring that all students have access to the supports they need to be successful. The highlights that will follow will demonstrate the impact of these efforts and the meaningful progress our district has made towards creating more inclusive and supportive learning environments. The first highlight showcase that I'll showcase is our success in increasing opportunities for preschool students with disabilities to receive their education alongside their peers in general education classrooms. In 2023, our district was identified as being disproportionate in the area of preschool students with disabilities receiving services in general education settings. In response, the district developed and implemented a targeted improvement plan. I'm proud to report that not only did we meet our goal, but we significantly exceeded it. Our objective was to increase the percentage of preschool students with disabilities to receive at least 80% of their instruction in general education classrooms to 10%. We started at 4%, and our goal was by June of 2026 to increase it by 10%. At the end of this school year last week, 25% of our preschool students receiving special education services were fully included in general education classrooms, demonstrating meaningful progress toward more inclusive educational opportunities for our youngest learners. A key factor in this growth has been the ongoing professional development and coaching provided to our preschool teachers. These supports have helped educators develop the skills and strategies needed to create inclusive, supportive learning environments where all students can thrive. We will continue this work next school year, and we will also be exploring opportunities to expand these practices and supports into additional grade levels across the district. Another highlight of this school year is the professional development that was provided around neurodivergency. These professional development opportunities allowed for a deeper understanding of neurodivergency and how we can support students in our schools. The feedback from staff that participated was very positive, and we are planning to provide more professional development opportunities next school year surrounding neurodivergency. And then throughout the school year, we have seen an increase in the number of students whose social, emotional, behavioral, and trauma-related needs are impacting their ability to access their education successfully. While our staff work incredibly hard to support students, many of our schools are asking for additional assistance when students experience significant dysregulation, emotional crises, or behavioral challenges. The behavior survey that was completed this school year gave us imperative feedback on staff and student needs and provided us with an opportunity to create supports within our schools. Of course, it would be me, wouldn't it?
You're definitely not the first.
Okay. So traditionally, districts have often responded to these significant situations by creating more restrictive programs or specialized classrooms. However, our vision is different. Rather than creating another separate placement, we are going to trial intensive support teams that can move between schools and provide direct support where students are currently being served. The goal is to help students remain successful in the least restrictive environment possible while simultaneously building the capacity of our staff to support complex student needs. These teams will provide intensive, short-term, and ongoing support to staff to help create safe, supportive learning environments for students who are experiencing challenges with emotional regulation, trauma-related responses, significant behavioral needs, or school engagement. These teams will allow us to respond to staff and student needs earlier and more effectively. There is also a significant financial benefit to providing more supports across our schools. Every time we can successfully support a student within our district, rather than pursuing an out-of-district placement, we not only save resources, but we also maintain the student's connection to their community, to their peers, and their school environment. These teams are intentionally designed to be multidisciplinary teams because students' needs are multidimensional. Both of our teams that we are going to create will include a board-certified behavior analyst, a BCBA, a mental health clinician, and the first one will be a board-certified behavioral analyst, 2 paraprofessionals who are trained in behavior support and co-regulation, and then one of the teams will also have a mental health clinician attached to it who can provide that trauma-informed strategies and practices for students whose behaviors are rooted in mental health. Together, these teams will serve as a district resource. They will work, their work will include classroom modeling, coaching, crisis response training, behavior planning, social emotional instruction, and staff consultation. Success will mean fewer behavior incidences, fewer emergency responses, increased student engagement, improved emotional regulation, and stronger relationships between students and staff. For our educators, success will look like increased confidence, improved skills, and greater support when working with students who have intensive needs. I believe that these teams present us with an opportunity to strengthen our continuum of services and improve student outcomes and continue moving our district toward a more inclusive and trauma-informed future. And I'm very grateful for the opportunity to continue to work to improve student outcomes with these teams in our district. Would you like me to address the ESY question that you had as well?
Oh, are you done?
Yes, I'm sorry.
Okay, no, sorry, we didn't know, usually there's an ending slide, but we just wanted to make sure that you were done before
I
we said
apologize,
anything.
the end.
Yeah, no, thank you.
What was it,
Thank you for
end
your,
scene?
thank you, that wasn't the end phase, but
I apologize.
we wouldn't want to jump the gun.
End
So,
scene.
thank you for your first board presentation for us. So. All right, well, again, thank you for your presentation. All right, we will start with composite questions, and this time, we'll start on my right.
Thank you for the presentation and congratulations on your year anniversary. The question that I have is with regards to the team structure, does it require us to hire additional people, or are we already resourced and it's more of a reorganization of the people we have?
So we are piloting the program and we are utilizing contractors to do so because we don't currently have the paraprofessional position that has the RBT training, registered behavior technician training, which are the 2 paraprofessionals who are going to be overseen by the BCBA. And also, we don't currently have a position for mental health clinician. And so, in order to pilot the program and build it, we are going to utilize, I think, one-time funding. Is that correct, Josie? That's one-time funding to support the creation and implementation of that, and then already working with Brent on creating those new job descriptions and going through the process of getting those approved so that we can then direct hire, because that's always the best route for hiring.
I have a follow-up
Okay,
question.
that's okay.
Thank you. I guess my follow-up question, with us using one-time funds, what we've seen when we've done that, especially with roles, it's very hard to upkeep. And so I guess I would, and we don't have to answer this question now. The question is, what is our long-term plan once we do hire to prevent, 3 years from now, even if it works, because we can't fund it, then what?
I can say one part of that is that the goal would be to bring back our students who are in non-public settings and to transition them back into our school sites. And that would save funding and kind of, I don't want to say supplant because that's not the right word, but it would save us savings on that end in order for us to continue this. Also, it will reduce the number of one-to-ones that we have for our students, which is very costly as well, especially when we're contracting behavior technicians to do that work. And building the capacity of our teachers and all of our other staff will, hopefully, the goal is to stop those transitions out into non-public schools. And I don't know.
I can actually just add to that. This is a one-time investment into a system that's going to better support our students and actually be a cost savings because we're supporting our students in the
Superintendent
district.
Scott, could you stop the timer? It's about to go off.
Oh, yes,
Sorry,
thank
I
you.
just wanted to bing right in the middle of what you were saying.
that's happened to
Yeah.
me before.
Anyway.
Yeah, so it's a way for us, so it's really an investment to build capacity so that we're avoiding these high-cost, non-public school placements, so that we can keep our students in their community and support them in our schools, and it will be supporting our bottom line as well. So it's really that, the one-time funds is that this initial kind of seed money, this investment into building the capacity of our school staff.
Do you have anything to add, Assistant Superintendent Peterson? Okay, just wanted to make sure, because that's all you nodding your head. And just to be clear about my question thing, it's more just like, I want to make sure that we're giving everyone a chance to ask questions. But no, if you have a follow-up, I think that's one thing I want to make clear to the board. Like, go ahead and ask a follow-up if it's on that topic. It's just more like, I don't want them to say like, hey, about money, and then about data, and then it's like, well, someone doesn't get to ask that data question. That's more my clarification. But yeah, no, thank you for asking, but no, you were totally good. Next question is, or comment is Trustee Ali.
All right, thank you. Can you please go back to the slide that you had up there about compliance? And I think it was talking about pre-K. Yeah, there you go. So are we doing all right when it comes to compliance with grades, I guess would be kindergarten through 8th?
So the state does what they call the compliance improvement and monitoring on a yearly basis. And so this, actually, this year that we are identified was 2023, and it ended this January, so we are no longer under this identification. And the interesting part with pre-K is that because they transition into kinder, and then we have a whole new group of students that are assessed at the age of 3, going into 4, we start off very low with our percentages at the beginning of the year. We are starting with only 6 students in pre-K that have IEPs this year that are in Gen Ed, but that number will increase and the percentages will increase. We have been identified for the second year in a row this spring as a disproportionate in the identification of Hispanic students being found eligible as specific learning disabled. And so we are working with the SELPA, the Special Education Local Plan area, in order to look at our data, look at our practices and our policies, and try to determine if we have things in place that are obstacles for that. And one of those things is inclusive practices, ensuring that we are providing those opportunities and using our UDL strategies in order to meet the needs of all students as much as possible within our general education Tier 1, Tier 2, and Tier 3. Other than that, we have not been found disproportionate in any other area at this point, but it's a yearly review. And so they will once again review it next February, and we'll get the results beginning of June, end of May, beginning of June is when we get those results. But we are not disproportionate in any other area.
Okay, and thanks for saying that we have a relatively low number of students that are like 4 years old and 3-year-olds that are being, diagnosed with some type of disability. I'm always a little bit leery of, starting that too early. So thank you.
Well, and actually, we actually have increased in our referrals for not pre, but 3-year-olds to 5-year-olds because of higher needs, and we're seeing a lot of more medical needs. So we still do have a lot of students, or many students, not a lot, many students who are in our self-contained classrooms in preschool age, because we are seeing a lot more students who have those higher cognitive and medical needs that really need those more supportive environments. But as we move forward, we're trying to create more supports within those general ed classrooms to support those students as well.
First, I love that you already had like the definitions of the acronyms at the bottom of your last slide, already 2 steps ahead of me without even knowing it from my previous conversation. So already thank you for that. I have a question on understanding like how students are identified to be on an IEP. How much of that is by work of staff? How much of that does it involve parents? Do parents have to say, yes, I'd like them to be, evaluated? Can parents say, no, I don't want them to be evaluated, even though there's clearly maybe a need for an evaluation? Like, where are parents involved in this versus, obviously very educated and professional recommendations, and how do we fit in as parents saying,
A
like,
very heavy and complex answer, so I'm going to try to give a clear kind of summary and overview of that process.
okay.
So
Can I
anybody-
stop you for a second? I just want to make sure, sometimes the microphone doesn't pick up, and that's for people at home, so just want to make sure you talk to the microphone, yeah.
So anybody can make a referral for special education evaluation for a student. We do get for our 3-year-olds coming from outside agencies, physicians, doctors, parents. Any teacher, anybody that has information or knowledge of the student can make a referral. Once a referral is made, the site team, most of the time a student services team, MTSS team, come together and they look at the concerns of whoever made the referral. Then the team determines what are our next steps. Do we think we need some interventions put in place? Do we feel like there's been lack of instruction, so we need more time? Do they need some tier 1, tier 2 interventions? Or do we feel like there's a suspected disability? If we feel like there's a suspected disability, that triggers what we call Child Find, which is the special education assessment process. The first thing with that process is that we provide the parents with an assessment plan. Now, the parents are involved on that first team that I talked about as well. And the assessment plan outlines why the team is proposing to do an assessment for special education services, what assessments that they're proposing to complete, and the parent has to provide permission or consent in order for us to even start those assessments. Once the assessments are completed, the IEP team, or the team at that time, comes together. They review all of the assessments, which includes interviews with parents, observations of students, and then any other formal assessments or informal assessments that the team has identified they want to complete. And then the team goes through the assessments, the summary, and determine whether the student is eligible, meets any criteria eligible under any of the 14 categories of disabilities that a student can be found eligible as. If the student is found eligible, then the team proposes a plan on how to support the student. They identify strengths, areas of need, goals, accommodations, and services. And we do that proposal to the parents, and then the parents get to choose whether or not they give consent for us to implement that IEP. So it is all, California is a parental consent state. In order to find the student eligible, the parent has to give consent to that, and then they have to give consent to the implementation of the support plan.
Thank you. That was a great. I'm
Did I answer your question?
Yes, you did. Like, heavy loaded answer. Like you
And
said,
of
there was a lot
course-
that was going into it, and so super clear. And I just want to, I don't know if I said thank you for the presentation. It is really nice to see that there is so much going on, because I don't think I heard any of this when I was in elementary school. I don't think there was any sort of idea or goals or anything to have students feel this included. So very, very lucky for the kids that are growing up in this day and age. So thank you.
And of course, I know she gave just a brief overview, so if you have any more questions, of course, you can follow up and ask for like more of that information. Or, I mean, also Trustee Ali probably has a lot of that information as well. But again, we appreciate hearing the inter-district process and exactly like how it's done for our district, so thank you. And then I have 2 questions, but I'll ask one, then I'll make sure my other trustees don't have any others. So, so go back to the place where you had the teams. Are staff involved in, or were staff involved in anything like, I know that you said you're piloting this, and so I guess, are staff involved, or are any staff feedback are involved in this process?
We have 2 current board certified behavior analysts, and so those 2 people will be the ones overseeing and supervising the RBTs and the teams. Yes, they have had input into that. Most of our input came from discussions with teams, concerns brought by staff and by principals, and the behavior survey, and looking at how we can best have boots on the ground, because we've been talking a lot about training? How do we provide behavior training? But that involves taking people out of the classroom and then training them, and then they are going back and trying to implement strategies, that they sat through. And so we really wanted to look at how can we get more boots on the ground to help model those. And the best, a lot of other districts have RBTs, registered behavior techs, and mental health clinicians to help support that. And we want to be very strategic in how we roll that out so that we can measure and identifying what we're going to measure, less discipline referrals, less behavior incidences and things of that nature, and how we're going to track if this is being successful or not. That's how we came up with, and cabinet, speaking with cabinet and student services and all that.
Excellent. Then, yes, he had another question.
Yeah, I have kind of a lot of questions about this, but I probably would want to talk to you later.
Absolutely.
But my question is similar. I was just wondering, these positions, like the BCBA, the analysts, you said you have 2 already, and you said they're with the district, so they're here on this.
Yes.
And then what are they actually supervising? You're saying they're supervising these paraprofessionals, but what?
So registered behavior techs, they have gone through a certification program, but they have to be overseen by board-certified behavior
Okay.
analyst. And so for 5% of their work week, they have to have supervision. But being a part of this team allows for that supervision 100% of the time. They're making the decisions together, planning together, and supporting together.
Okay, the only question, I understand a lot more now. I guess I just was a little curious if those 2 people would do any student-facing work.
So our goal right now is no. The BCBAs actually provide direct behavior services to students who have it in their IEPs. They currently do that. These teams, we want to build capacity of our staff to support students, so they will be able to model, coach, but they won't be providing the direct service to the students.
So, okay, thank you.
And then my second question is hopefully an easier one. Can you go back to the very first slide? Yeah, no, my first one was a more difficult question. This one's going to hopefully be easier.
This one or?
Yeah, no, that one. Yeah.
That one- the other one's
That's
easy.
fine. Yeah, sure. What was your title? No, I'm just kidding. So we have the goal there, and I see that you exceeded it by 150%. What is your new goal?
So we haven't set a specific new goal because we are out of the compliance monitoring. However, our goal is to continue that progress and we want to get to as high as we can that's appropriate. We're not going to stop this work because if we don't continue the support, then we might see it go back down, and so we're not stopping the work.
No, again, thank you. And that's just more I just wanted to know, just like.
We can
now
set
that
a goal.
And exceeded, of course. Like, I would want to see where that's going.
So what would you need for us to help support you with that? Because I know, we're all happy right now, but there are going to be people who push back against this, unfortunately. So how can we support you?
Look, everybody's looking at me.
What do you mean by?
That could be an ongoing question that we
With the
could.
implementation of the support teams, to help everybody recognize that it is a need, that it has been identified by our teachers, by our principals, and by us, and it's been an ongoing concern, not just here, but across the country. We're seeing an increase in intensity and frequency of behaviors at younger ages, especially since COVID, and the continued need to support our students with the trauma, the social, emotional, and those behavior concerns is an absolute necessity, and that this is one way that we are going to trial to see if we can support our staff in that, and just asking questions and giving suggestions. And, if you're seeing something that, I'm not seeing or that we're not seeing, just letting us know so that, because we're going to have to make adjustments as we go. This is a trial program, and we're going to make adjustments as we go. And, so being a part of that and helping support that this is a need and we have to address it, and staying that course so we can see if this works.
And you've been hearing this from some of our speakers, staff speakers that have come up, that behavior is really something that is a concern. And so this is they've been asking for this. And so this is one way to address that.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was actually going to bring up that we have had situations where during public comment, teachers, staff have spoken about it. So it seems like it's in direct correlation to the feedback that we've been given. I guess my maybe recommendation is to figure out how we're going to communicate it broadly so that people are aware that it is happening, when it's happening, what it actually looks like. So that way, not only are we addressing, hey, we've heard you when we're doing this, but for those that maybe weren't complaining, they're in the know so that it's not, no one is caught off guard by the trial that we're going into.
And we've been talking about it in our, especially special education and our admin council throughout the years to how we can do this. And the conversations about some intensive team support, that's what I've been calling it, have occurred. And then we are doing admin council July, I think I'm 28th maybe, where I am doing some training with our admin, and this is going to be brought up then, and then also my first monthly meeting with our special education teachers, and then we'll work with administrators on how we get that rolled out to the rest of the staff. And we are working on a referral process, and then a process on how we determine who we're going to assign. And so that we're all working on that right now because we want it to be strategic and purposeful.
And we've also been discussing this with our district team, which includes our union representatives. So we've been talking about this for a while, so it's been an ongoing conversation. So our leadership in our unions is aware of this trial as well.
And we actually were a part of the SIP Academy this year in coordination with the SELPA and the state, which is the Inclusion Instructional Practices Committee. And from that work, we transitioned that team over into our inclusive committee team to focus on the results of that behavior survey that was given to the whole district. So we will be working in conjunction with the inclusion committee to continue identifying and keeping everybody abreast. And Ms. Scott does a great job of sending out summaries of what's happening in those inclusion committees and where we are with that information and where we're going.
Is it a follow-up, Trustee Jordan? Okay, go ahead. Then Trustee Ali will go after.
So I guess the question is that with regards to the communication, how long is the trial and what kind of information will we get back? Like, I guess I'm saying is it going to be waiting a year for another presentation, or is it like, will we get updates that don't require a presentation throughout the year while the trial is going on?
Yes, so, well, it's a position, these are positions, so they would be a year position.
It's a
So
year?
the way that it is, the services are provided might be adjusted throughout the year, but those positions will exist for the year. And so I can, through our information bulletin, give updates as we have data, and so we'll share, absolutely.
Trustee Ali?
This might sound a little strange because I think you were alluding to it a little bit, but my only other question I had was how much involvement do this teachers with general ed credentials have in this whole process?
So once a referral is made to the team, we'll determine which team needs to go out to support. And that site team, so the whole IEP team, will come together and have what I call staffing. So the site team and the support team will come together, which includes the general education teachers that are with the students in their classrooms. And that's where they'll talk about what the concerns are, what's already happening, and so that the intensive support team can then look at what are our next steps. Do we need to look at more data and how we can support in the general ed classroom as well?
Okay, can I just slow you down just a little bit? Because I understand what you're saying, but I'm sure a lot of people don't. So would this be equivalent to what would be called a SST or a student study team, or is this different than that?
It'd be different from that. This would be an internal team just looking at what the concerns are. If any decisions are made that changes the student's IEP, then we would bring the parents into that as well.
Okay, I guess what I'm asking about is before someone's identified or qualifies for special ed.
At this point, we aren't utilizing the teams for that purpose. We're utilizing it for
Okay.
students with IEPs.
Thank you.
But
That's all I was asking.
Our goal when I started talking about this in the spring was to actually have kind of a wellness classroom on campus, on every site, where there is a mental health clinician or some supports available where kids can come in and get support, or they can support all students across the board. And so that's why we're piloting it this year, to kind of work out the kinks and then identify current staff members that we also have that we can train and help support in those capacities at all
Okay.
sites.
Yeah, that sounds good. That sounds more like what I was thinking. Is there any collaboration? Because the first person that came to my mind was Stephanie Martinez, and how is she involved in this, and her
Her
counselors.
and I are having many conversations surrounding this.
All right, cool. Thank you.
All right. Well, again, thank you so much for presenting and also yielding all of our questions. Again, we all just want the best for our students, so thank you.
Thank
you for
you.
your time. All right, so with that, we move on to item 11A, Certificate Retirements 2526. The administration recommends approval of the following retirement requests and requests the appropriate resolutions be prepared, commending the employees for their years of service to the district. Angela Wong, second grade teacher at Garden Village, effective June 6, 2026. Ms. Wong has been employed with the district since May 24th, 1990. And Ana Garcia, third grade teacher at JFK, effective June 6, 2026. Ms. Garcia has been employed with the district since June 3rd, 1988. All right, if there are any comments or questions, otherwise I'll entertain a motion.
Well, congratulations to both of them, especially 1988. That's a good year. That's when I graduated high school. A lot of people know about that year, Olympic year as well. But in all honesty, thank you for all their decades of service.
I want to say that I'm over here humming like, wow, oh my goodness. I'm doing math in my head, and I don't know how many times I would love to say thank you to teachers, especially at the grades that they teach, because of how much they have an impact on, kids this young. And so second and third grade for that amount of time, I hope that, the students have come back and shown you all the love over these decades, because you deserve it. So thank you, and happy retirement, and I hope you enjoy your days, and we'll probably see your name as a substitute teacher in an upcoming agenda.
Are you calling out my mom? No, I'm just kidding. No, of course not.
I echo my fellow board trustee sentiments. I actually know Ms. Wong because she is at my daughter's school, and she's 36 years and 38 years for Ms. Garcia. That's years of service. That's longevity. That shows that our district has done a good job in maintaining employment for some really strong teachers, and so I want to commend the district as well, and congratulations on your retirement. Motion to approve.
I second. All right, so we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Congratulations, Ms. Wong and Ms. Garcia. And happy retirement. All right, item 12A, retirement classified personnel. The administration recommends the approval of the retirement request for the following employees and requests an appropriate resolution be prepared, commending them for those with 10 or more years of service with the district. Tai Nguyen, am I pronouncing that correctly? Tui, thank you. Instructional assistant preschool JFK, hired on November 14, 2022, effective June 5th, 2026. Yen H. Sun, food service assistant, George Washington, hired on June 6th, 2001, effective June 5th, 2026. And Mei Chu Young, snack bar operator, Ben Franklin, hired on January 3rd, 2022, effective June 5th, 2026. If there are any comments or questions, otherwise I'll entertain a motion.
Congratulations on your retirement. Motion to approve.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Congratulations, Ms. Nguyen, or I don't know their gender. I should not assume that. Mix Nguyen, Mix Sun, and Mix Young on their retirements. Thank you very much for your service. All right, item 14A, Board Policy 5131.
You skipped one, 13A.
Thank you for catching that. Item 13A. going to start marking them a little better. Item 13A, revised governing board meeting dates and governance calendar for 2026. The board will review and approve the revised 2026 board meeting dates and governance calendar. Revisions to the calendar reflect the board's action taken on May 27th, 2026, when the board adopted the February 2026 CSBA board policy updates, including BB 9320 meetings and notices, and approved one regular board meeting a month. Are there any comments or questions on this? Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve?
I second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes unanimously. For anyone looking for that information, that was in the previous board meeting and approved now. All right, item 14A, Board Policy 5131.8, Mobile Communications Devices, second reading. The board will review and revise Board Policy 5131.8, Mobile Communication Devices, as stated in second reading. Before we get to that, we did have one trustee who is absent today, Trustee Rashba. He did provide a statement, so I'm going to read it out loud for, although the vote is up to us, but this is his input. RE, the mobile communication device policy. My position remains that the opening paragraph, the governing board recognizes only as permitted under this policy, should be eliminated. The CSBA governance document does not offer any reasons to include this paragraph in, and I think the language sends a mixed message. State law now requires school boards to adopt a policy that limits or prohibits smartphone use due to extensive research showing how distracting they are to student learning. Our district is banning smartphone use during the school day, but has included several stipulations in our policy that would allow for their limited use in certain situations as needed. And we are allowing their use outside of instructional time, namely during pickup and drop-off periods. I think that only the language after the opening paragraph is needed for our policy, and I believe the opening paragraph's language that smartphone use may be beneficial to student learning counteracts the goal limiting their use. All that said, I defer to the board members present to discuss this issue, and I support whatever the majority of the board members decide on this policy. All right, so to remind us all, the current conversation was at our last board meeting. We were discussing the first paragraph and how we didn't like certain language, and we were thinking about whether we wanted to either change it, amend it, or omit it entirely. And so his comment is stating his opinion, I think, which he also said at the last board meeting, where he was questioning whether this was important to add, and then Superintendent McCulloch brought up the actual CSBA policy itself, and which again, the language from the policy that we have now includes both of those paragraphs, although they do not specifically state we need to have both paragraphs for us to be legally binding. So that's where we are at now. So we will continue this conversation. So where are trustees at?
My stance hasn't changed. I didn't like the language in the first. I felt like it stated that the board was okay or supported it being a part of, I guess, and I don't have it in front of me, but the well-being of our students using the devices. I believe at the last meeting I explicitly stated that the second part talked about it and then went into the details about where it was allowed, and I think that it should remain that way, especially because there is no legal language saying that that first paragraph is required to be there, and it seems very repetitive with mixed signals.
Thank you, Trustee Jordan. Any other comments or questions or conversation from other board members?
Yeah, so I was just concerned, I'm not concerned, curious, like, what is the mixed message? And then what is wrong with saying that something may be beneficial? Is that a fact?
In the statement itself, where it says it may be beneficial?
I can't speak to it being a fact or not, because I don't have any research or development that shows that it's a fact or not. I don't feel comfortable as a board member saying that because it's not a fact, or at least I don't see it as a fact, that I'm saying that language up front. I don't see the benefit of the additional language. I feel like the mixed signal specifically is it's saying that it is that it is supporting the well-being, and I don't see the receipts to say that it is. That's my stance on it.
you have any opinion? If you do not have to speak if you don't want to.
No, I think the last one I agreed to that it was just extraneous to have that first paragraph. Like it already says that there are exceptions to that rule, and I think for something like this where you can, go through hoops and loops and say like, well, it actually says this, like to keep it clear cut and say no, unless it's this, like straight to the point, I think is just the way to go, because I just feel like it can get messy if people really try to break it down.
Can I add to that? I actually appreciate you saying that. I feel like a lot of our language is wordy. It's very repetitive and redundant, and I am more of a blunt, straight to the point person. I understand that it's not my decision, it's the board, but that is a great way to put it. It gets straight to the point, and I think the second paragraph does that.
Trustee Ali?
Yeah, I agree with both of you. I'm usually one to not want to be wordy and cut things, but for me, this is still a philosophical point to me. If CSBA put that language in there and districts are using it, that's why I'm asking: is that a fact? Can technology and mobile technology, can it be beneficial to student learning?
Well, and that's where I think it gets convoluted, because I don't know if that first paragraph necessarily says whether or not it's okay. It's kind of, that's what I think we're discussing, is that first paragraph is kind of ambiguous. It's the things after that are more the concrete, like no except during, and that's really where it states it. And again, I don't have it in front of me. Actually, Superintendent McCullough, could I actually ask you to read the whole statement for, and actually, Ms. Covray also has it, but Superintendent McCullough, while she's handing it out, could you read it to us, please?
Sure. The governing board recognizes that student use of smartphones and other mobile communication devices on campus may be beneficial to student learning and well-being, and could be harmful and disruptive of the instructional program in some circumstances. When on campus or when under the supervision of district employees, students may use smartphones or other mobile communication devices only as permitted under this policy. And then it goes on to the option 2, which we selected. Students shall not use smartphones or other mobile communication devices while at a school site or under the supervision and control of a district employee. The last meeting we did, someone wanted to strike out the or under the supervision and control of a district employee and just end it with students shall not use smartphones or other mobile communication devices while at a school during school hours. That
Okay.
was a note that I had from last time.
Yeah.
Thank you for reading that. So that's why I keep saying, this first paragraph that everyone's so against is balanced. So that's why I don't understand why we're saying that it's sending a mixed message. But do you disagree with this first paragraph, with the actual statement?
I disagree with the first sentence, because the mixed signal to me is that it's saying that it may be beneficial, but it could also be harmful. So it's like, it's kind of like contradicting itself in the same exact sentence, where in my eyes, I'm thinking, if it just goes to when on campus or whatever the language was just read, and then we go into students shall not, and then it just goes into detail about what we will and will not allow, period, versus it may be beneficial, but it may not. It could also cause harm. Like, that's kind of like someone asks you how do you like this, and you say yes and no at the same time.
I agree, and that's why I don't understand why parents, give them these devices, send them to school, with it, and then put it on us to police it. So I don't really care about arguing about this. Whatever's going to happen is going to happen. I've already said my piece.
Well, I think this discussion is interesting because it sounds like we're talking about similar but different. It's kind of like what this is saying. It's like, I see your side where it's like, this is, if we're saying, sugar makes you happy, but it's also bad for you. It's like, we're not really giving our position on anything. So, and I think more for the legal side, is it necessary to be in the policy? It's a good, as you, because again, I think you're having two different discussions. One
Okay,
is
I'll
legal.
just cut to the chase. What I'm saying is we're just prohibiting it, period. That's where we're cutting it to. We're just prohibiting it. And it says smartphones and other mobile communication devices. We brought that up last time too. And, so I just think that we're almost getting into micromanaging with this, but I'm trying to step back from it. I'm trying to step back.
If I can finish. So I was saying that your side, the philosophical side, is also a part of it too. Like you're saying, like, it's like, and I think ultimately though, this policy is not really, I mean, we are deciding how it's going to be done, but this really isn't our policy. This is the state policy that we have to adopt. So this really isn't like.
But when we cut out that first paragraph, it's becoming our policy, because we're saying we don't want to talk about the balance of it. We just want to say we're prohibiting it.
I disagree. And the reason why I disagree is because it actually does state that it's only as permitted under this policy, and then it goes into where you can still use the device. So my statement with regards to and if you want the word the governing board still in there to make it seem like it's our policy, I'm okay with that. I think as one person on the governing board, I don't feel comfortable with it saying two things at the same time. I just feel like it's contradictory. And I feel like the rest of it says we're not saying you can't use it at all. We're saying you can use it only in these specific scenarios.
If there's any more discussion, otherwise I will also entertain a motion. So this does have to be adopted before the end of this month, correct? Yes, thank you, Superintendent McCulloch.
I know you mentioned that you had a note in there that it says during school hours, which I think is the important part. So if we're gonna, I don't know if I'm doing this right, entertain a motion that I would like it to have the inclusion of during school hours as a.
So I
which
think
part?
for clarity, what the motion you're making, is your motion that we remove the first paragraph and the policy starts, students shall not use smartphones or other mobile communication devices while at a school site during school hours, period.
Yes.
So that's your motion. I'm
Then
just
it lists,
clarifying.
unless there's.
And then everything
yes,
else
yes,
is the
yes,
same.
yes.
So,
All right,
there's a
that's
motion
the
on
motion on
that.
the table. Is there a second?
Question.
Yes.
Because I know that we're saying to say during school hours, but then under option 2, it kind of now is a little bit repetitive, because then it goes to say, shall not use smartphones or mobile devices while at school or under. Do we feel like maybe that language belongs there instead?
Like, so replace while at school site with during school hours?
Yeah, I guess that's what I'm saying.
Well, but then I think then we get into the thing of like, if they're not on campus, so that if they're on a field trip during school hours, are they allowed to use their phones while at school functions? Because we're not saying while at a school site anymore, so that opens us up for other things. So I guess like that is one thing I guess we want to discuss. Does this policy include off-school campuses on field trips? So that's a good point, actually. That's another thing.
I mean, I
that we
guess
haven't-
that's the reason why I'm asking, because if we put it at the first paragraph, then that's only focused on at, what was it, during school hours, and then we still have while at school site. So, but during school hours at school site, I guess that's where I'm not sure. I feel like it's a little overlapping.
I think that whole piece of being on a field trip is what that second part that we crossed out relates to, or under the supervision and control of a district employee, because that, I think now that when you said that, I'm like, oh, I think that's what that means.
Yeah.
So maybe we keep that,
Yes.
And
and
then do we
then
also want to add in during school hours?
at the very end.
Yes. So that's a question for us. Do we want to include that as part of this
Well, I
policy?
guess it does say, from this one that we scratched out, it says during instructional time, which is school hours, correct?
That's option 1, yeah.
I know, but that's, I guess what I'm saying is how do we, because I think to actually listen to what Trustee Ali said, right, I want to be clear, right? The scratching out of that the first sentence is not saying anything about like complete restriction. It's and or, which is fine if we add the language in from a overall standpoint into that last sentence, whether that be instructional time, like we add some of the language in option 1 that we crossed out into the sentence, because I do think the non-instructional time, and the thing that you said about when they're off campus at a field trip, because we also probably don't want them using their phones during a field trip either. That's not.
It's highly dependent on the field trip. It's very rare, but like the only last one I could think would be like Great America grad trip, but that's
Still
otherwise-
going to
yeah.
be, what is it, in case of an emergency
Yep.
or a perceived threat?
But that's exactly what I'm saying. It's like it's very seldom where that rule would not. I mean, again, it really is that employee because it's in here already under that employee. That is that employee's discretion already with this current policy. So we are semi-covered under that it's up to that employee. And also, then as we just had this discussion last time, is do we want to force our staff to police this?
I don't think that this policy says anything about enforcing staff to do anything. I think it's a policy. It's kind of like they put rules and regulations on the board. Please adhere to it. If people don't adhere to it, that's a different conversation that we're not a part of, because that goes into micromanaging. We've created a policy. We're expecting the policy to be upheld. How the district decides to uphold the policy, I'm out of it.
Yeah, I chime back in.
Yeah, of course.
And that's why I mentioned before, I really feel like this should be something that principals have more influence over individually. But yeah, so anyway, that's it.
All right, so the current motion on the table, if I'm correct, it's the first paragraph is not there. It starts with students shall not use smartphones and other mobile communication devices while at school under the supervision and control of a district employee during school hours.
The motion that trustee Policarpio said was, my first correction was students shall not use smartphones or other mobile communication devices while at a school site during school hours. So if we want that motion to drop,
That's true, yes.
then we need a new motion to say,
I think sorry, to your point where you said like the second sentence of the first paragraph where it says under the supervision, if we just keep it in that option 2 while adding the school hours in there, because it says or under the supervision and control of a district employee, like it's repeated there again, and doesn't have to be part of the first. So I guess it would, for me, would say students shall not use smartphones or other mobile communication devices while at a school site during school hours or under, while at a school site. While at a school site or under, shall not use it while at a school site or under the supervision and control. Does that make, that's basically saying they can't use it under the supervision or control.
Anyone run this through AI yet?
Isn't that what it says, right? Students shall not use smartphones or other mobile communication devices, take out the school site, under the supervision and control of a district employee. So if you take out while at a school site, like, that doesn't read properly. It's saying that they shouldn't even use it under the supervision.
Actually, that's interesting. So it
Right.
actually reads like they should not be
They should-
using it under the supervision, but they should be, because we said in 1, 2,
Yes.
3, 4 that they should. So I do feel like option 2 is contradictory.
Yeah, students shall not use smartphones or other mobile communication devices. They shall not use them while at school or shall not use them under the
under,
supervision
yes.
and control. See,
If not
I did
under
notice
the-
that before. That
Maybe
actually
should it be or if not under the supervision? Because it's saying under the supervision and control of that they should not.
They should not, yeah, the way that it reads now. That's
it.
why if we take out school site and you read it without the first part, it reads it as they shouldn't use it even under the
I
supervision.
think we
which
could
is not
keep school site, but I think we should add if not or
right. Oh, yeah, yeah,
something
no,
like
agree.
that.
I was
Well,
just
it's
saying that's
not
how I could
lawyers,
read, that's how I was
too,
reading it
so-
as it's reading off.
super
well,
difficult.
I think it goes back to that original conversation about the field trip, though. It's while they shall not use a smartphone or other communication device while at school site or under the supervision, like at a field trip, and control of a district employee. So you're not supposed to use it there either, because that's the field trip piece. So it's because saying just a school site is limiting to just a school site, but we're also saying, also, if you are on a school trip under the supervision of a district employee,
Oh, okay,
that's
so
where you
are
should not.
saying prohibit even
Yes.
so if you are under okay, I see what you.
So it's
they
not
are
limiting
saying-
to the school
what we
site.
thought that they were trying not to say. That is exactly what they mean to say. Because I was also thinking, wait a second, this has been read through by lawyers. This does mean what
Mm-hmm.
this means. So it's like it's interesting. Yeah, okay.
And that's
so I
great,
understand.
right? I think this is where I get, lawyers are great, No offense to the lawyers. But the people that are reading this are not lawyers, and they're not, like, we need it to be simple and easy.
Direct.
And direct, that anybody that does not understand wordy and large words, I'm not saying that any of these are, but if it's not simple, we will lose people.
And we'll do exactly what we're doing
Correct.
right now over 3 words, you know,
I
like
would
it's.
rather it say field trip or offsite or whatever it is.
All right, Assistant Superintendent Scott, you have a comment?
So we had 2 choices, right? 2 options. The first option really allows students to access their cell phone devices during non-instructional time, which is lunch and recess. Option 2 is really they don't have access to it at all during the school hours unless, right, those provisions 1 through 4. Those are the only 2 options that we have. So option 1 was not selected one by either the admin or the parents that we spoke to because of we don't want students to use it during non-instructional time, which is lunch and recess.
And I think that's what we even said last time, which again, I thank you for mentioning that because I think that's part of it. And I think you just said it to Trustee Ali, which is we need to hear from the people who are most impacted by this. And this is data from Assistant Superintendent Scott saying the parents and the administrators have said option 1 is not what they want. So I think we are hearing it correctly that this is what is being proposed to us by our district public. Option 2, yeah, go ahead, Superintendent.
And I
please.
think option 2, including the or under the supervision and control of a district employee, is all encompassing. Because if we were limiting it to field trip, there might be something else, and then, oh, well, that's not in the policy. That really is that catch-all, I think, phrase, which is why the legal team put that in, so that it's, basically, you can't use it at all. While at school or under the supervision of any district employee, it's basically saying you can't use it unless it's under these provisions. I think it was a catch-all phrase to make sure they're not limiting the scope of this not using.
And then I think, oh, you go ahead, Superintendent.
And to the parents we spoke to, that was important, right? That their students had a way to contact them in the case of an emergency. So
And that is in there. And then also, I think the one thing that I think we were noticing that was contradictory as well, which was number 2, because it's saying they shall not use it while on school campus and will not use it under the supervision of and control of a district employee. However, again, it says even there in the between, however, a student shall not be prohibited unless the teacher/administrator grants permission to the student to use it. So, yeah, but go ahead.
and those provisions are for either of the 2 options.
Yeah, okay, so there's currently not, I think the last motion did not get a second, so it currently failed. So is there a new motion?
I move that we adopt it as written by CSBA.
All right, there's a motion, is there a second?
Does that include the first paragraph?
That's what he's saying, yes. All right, unfortunately, there's not a second, so this motion fails.
I move that we adopt it as written by CSBA without the first paragraph.
There is a motion on the table, is there a second? Well, so just without the first paragraph.
Sorry for clarification. Is it without the first paragraph, what's written here under option 2, students shall not?
No, just that the governing board recognizes, so just the top part, so, I second.
Okay.
Yeah, I second that motion. All right, so this is a voice vote, all those.
If you want, I would recommend doing a roll call
Yeah,
vote.
let's do a roll call vote.
So just for clarification, so that we know, the motion is to remove the first paragraph and start the policy with students shall not use smartphones or other mobile communication devices while at a school site or under the supervision and control of a district employee, and the rest remains the same.
Yes, so we're eliminating that first paragraph, and then obviously the yellow is not going to be included. So there's a motion and a second. Ms. Covray, could you do a roll call vote, please?
Ms. Jordan,
Nay.
Mr. Ali,
Aye.
Ms. Policarpio,
Sorry, I'm very confused. We're looking at just this part, option 2, what you just read, and then it will include everything else. So it is striking that first part, starting with they could only use it, not use it while at a school site or under the supervision, not adding anything else.
Correct.
I,
Mr. Sujisaka.
Aye. All right, that motion passes 3-1. All right. At least we made our deadline. All right, and we move on to item 15, governance team members' comments, reports, future agenda items, and board meeting reflection, and I will start on my left. Sorry, I always alternate, so I didn't need to catch you off guard.
nothing.
Yep, nothing, yeah. Simple, straight to the point.
Okay. Well, I was going to talk more about the youth cinema project, but Superintendent Mikulik and also Trustee Sujisaka and I think Trustee Jordan all spoke about it as well. So just want to reiterate that, I'm 100% in support of it, and that I think it would be good for all the stakeholders to come and talk about the impact that it has. And then also I was interested in future board meeting agenda that we be able to talk about career technical education and where we fit in that continuum. I like to plan backwards and work backwards and partner with people. So we have a lot of opportunity with CTE funding right now. So thank you.
I was just gonna say quickly something, but actually I want to touch upon what you just said about CT, especially since that's what I do for my work. Definitely, I hope that could also be a future agenda item. It is, again, the funding is mostly for secondary high school because that is where college and career readiness is specifically, that's where it's being funded because it achieves that matrix, which that elementary and Jefferson Elementary middle do not currently have that. CT does span into, I think it's maximum right now, it's 8th grade. It can go to 7th, but there is no metric that incentivizes middle or elementary to do it. But I think it's a conversation to be had, and I think that's more even, I think, for our legislation. Or our potential new state superintendent to be making that potential change of where does CTE go. But the conversation around funding is interesting because that is one thing that is in this country being funded and being seen on a state and a federal level. It is one of the very few educational things that we actually agree on. So it is one of the things that is, it is an interesting discussion, but again, for an elementary middle district, we'll talk.
Well, let me respond to that. Actually, middle schools and elementary schools are part of the continuum because it's career awareness. Then middle school is career exploration, and then high school is career preparation.
Yeah.
So we're on the continuum, and that's why I was saying planning backwards. If we partner with the high school district and then they're partnering with the community colleges, then we create that pathway.
All right, so let's put that as future
I was going to say, a
agenda
point
item,
of
'cause we can't
order, we don't
a-
want to have this
we can't have a
discussion without it
discussion
being
about
on the
'cause
agenda.
I would love to respond, but no, we got to keep that as a, so yes, let's put that as a potential future agenda item. But really, I wanted to say, I want to thank my board trustees today for especially our robust discussions about all these things. I think, and I say this all the time, and I'm going to continue to say it, we have such a diverse board. So I'm sure a lot of you noticed I keep looking over at Trustee Ali because we work together as colleagues at El Camino, and he's special education knowledge, and that's something that I do not have. When budget comes up, I start looking at Trustee Jordan because that's what her expertise. So we all have little expertise, and of course, Trustee Policarpio, you're a lot of communication stuff that we don't get to personally see here. But I really do appreciate that we have these different pieces that we fill. Because again, I'm probably the person I'm going to question here most is Pam, because it's I know most about what you do, but I don't know the other things as well. So I appreciate that we have such a diverse board with a bunch of different skills. And Trustee Rushba, who is definitely watching, appreciate you for your nonprofit and funding skills. So thank you to all my board. That's really just what I wanted to say. I appreciate our discussions here. All right, so With that being said, we move on to item 16, persons wishing to address the board on closed session items. Ms. Covere, are there any public speaker comments?
There are none.
Tell them to line up, please. This portion of the agenda is available for individuals to comment on or address the board on any item addressing closed session. The maximum time for any speaker usually allowed is 2 minutes, and that closes at 8:59. We are going to take a 5-minute recess and then convene in the superintendent conference room in 5 minutes. And, okay, I guess I'll do it at 8:59, but I was gonna wait. Okay, actually, I'll just wait the 5 seconds to get it to 9. So meet at the superintendent conference room at 9:05. Thanks for a great meeting, y'all.